Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am BorderWise and welcome back to From the Depths, Let's Build, where we're continuing with our Orbital CRAM artillery satellite type thing. And I'm happy to say that a fair amount was done during this recording session. Nothing blew up, fortunately or unfortunately. But yeah, it was interesting making this whole thing. Because I really I remember I said it last time, but I've really never made a big attack satellite before. It's not really something I know how to do just off the top of my head. And I think I might have overdone it a bit, as tends to be the case with a lot of first-time builds, first-time builds, and especially your first time building a specific kind of craft. I tend to find that it just seems to be a thing of making it too big because you're not sure what's the minimum amount of blockage you need to use. Blocks is better. Blockage sounds disgusting. Talk to your doctor about blockage. But in any case, so it's just I didn't want to go completely nuts with the armor, but I think I did anyway. The end result has a lot of wedges and a lot of interesting things because I'm just very paranoid these days about kinetic anything just zipping up from underneath it. Also I'm not entirely sure that this thing is going to be easy to get into space. Like, when all else fails, you could just use a ridiculously large amount of balloons and helium pumps and just all that stuff. But yeah, I really want this thing to be able to get into space all by itself, but end result might not be able to do that. Also, this thing is going to be a big circular shape simply because it felt right. And yeah, so yeah, slopes in From the Depths are hard. Can be hard to... Circles in From the Depths are generally quite hard, I find. But actually, when I was building this whole thing, I remember thinking to myself very clearly, I have got to make the tutorial for how to build big. Because, really, the whole tutorial for that can be summed up as prefab like crazy. Just make systems ahead of time, prefab like crazy. So just have ready-made prefabs of all kind of things, and just prefab various bits of the craft like over and over again. So you've got a section of hull, and you're probably going to use that same arrangement of blocks elsewhere, so prefab it again. And also have consistent numbers and patterns of blocks, so which is why I tend to like my craft to be a nice round number of beams tall and wide, just because that makes it a lot easier to prefab and just copy blocks and paste them around willy-nilly. And yeah. What did we do before symmetrical prefabs? I don't even remember. Probably not much. So yeah, it is hot in this room. It is hot in this room, and I'm gonna need to use extra focus to stay focused. But yeah, it's actually, you know what I should have done before recording this? Before recording the building, I should say. The voice, it's too late now. I'm commenting on things that have already happened. It's too late to do anything about it. But what I should have done was look at the attack satellites that the Scarlet Dawn have. Because they've got a few, and some of them are quite scary and formidable and effective. Not all of them. I think the Orc is, well, I don't know, attack satellites are a little bit like submarines, in that if you're not prepared for them, they will absolutely destroy you, but if you are, then, well, it depends on how well the attack satellite is made. I used to think the Palladium was one of the most formidable things in the whole game, until I realized that if you're not directly under the thing, it can't do anything to you. So, yeah. Also, I really should have zoomed in more on this prefab. This is a pre-made ion engine setup. Basically a whole bunch of them in a kind of ducted tube. So, yeah, those are ally ducts in there. And I perhaps should have replaced them with metal, but I did not bother. I failed to bother completely. pardon me, heat is making me very sleepy, so... What is past BorderWise up to? Past BorderWise... this is... oh boy, so... Is he gonna do it? Yep, so... The sharp-eyed among you watching will have noticed that that prefab I just put down was slightly off-target. And so what you're gonna be subjected to for the next, I don't know how long, this is times 2 speed, so hopefully not that long, is me trying to puzzle out how to make a nice smooth curve around there and make it even between all the sections. Which is gonna be really difficult because like it's not even with the engine sticks on the side are not in the right place. Oh boy. It is good practice for slopes, though. Very good practice for slopes. Oh no, I should have waited for it to cool down. So yeah, what can you say about a Tesla? There's no particular reason for me to do this kind of circular ring around it. I have no idea if there's going to be any kind of practical benefit to this at all. Maybe it'll act as block distraction, because like like, spoiler alert, I do manage to figure this out, and just having a load of small block clusters, like, off away from the important bits of your craft, there's an argument to be made that it's good for distracting weapons away from the more important bits. But at the same time, also, like, I'm just picturing what the Megalodon's main guns would do to this, and it would be bad. Oh, at this point I thought, like, hey, I could stick the balloons in there, because this thing's going to have a hell of a lot of balloons. So it can get itself up out of the water by itself. And then I didn't really bother doing that. I should probably do something on the corners right there. Simply because it would be silly not to. And here. Here is where I get very confused. Because I think, like, okay, I should just be able to flip that round and then it'll be a-okay. Alas, no, it is not okay. Life is not okay. Life is terrible, life is awful. I carumba and carumba I. Carumba I? Right, so this is the point where... yeah, I'm not sure when I notice it. I do notice it eventually. I possibly could have cut this out, but I think it really does me and, well, the people watching the power of good to see me stuff up. Because from the depths, there's a lot of stuffing up in From the Depths. Like, you will stuff up a lot. And if you think you haven't stuffed up yet, try revisiting your proudest creations 6 months from now. And see if you still think it's flawless. I used to think, whatchamacallit? Like, pretty much, that's how it goes in, I guess, it's any kind of creative pursuit, really, but From the Depths included, because it is creative. That, like, you will look back on your past works and despair, go like, I can't believe I did that. I eternally regret relying on repair spam for my first attempt at the Nita campaign. That was bad, and I was a salty Susan, because I thought, like, I don't understand why my ships are getting blown up. They're made of wood, dude. And that's because I was learning my craft building, at that point by watching tournaments. And here's an important thing, a tournament craft is not necessarily a good campaign craft, and vice versa. In fact, almost definitely not. Because tournament craft are made to specific rules, and repair spam is actually a good idea in a lot of tournaments, because you really only have to keep them alive, and keep them fighting, and keep them efficient for, like, one fight. And, like, then it's the tournament match, and that's it. Depending on the rule sets. But in the campaign, repair spam is a great way of depleting your budget, and also your craft generally need to be kind of more versatile and more self-sufficient, if that makes sense. So they need to be able to take care of themselves. And, are you going to figure it out yet, past BorderWise? Okay, this is me investigating, thinking like, alright, okay, there's something funny here. There's something funny. Oh no, now I remember. I start doing other things. Because very distracted. And oh yeah, I remember what I did. Oh, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Oh yeah, I'm trying to line that up. Yep, here it is. That's where I realize what I've done. What I've done. No, wait for it, 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 wait for it. Here's where I try and line it up and realize something's gone horribly wrong there. And yep. Yep. And now to redo that whole ring. Oh yeah. Control Z ain't gonna help you there. It is quite fun to chop things off sometimes though, because it's just chop and away it goes. And now you gotta do all that again. Well done, past BorderWise, you gotta do that all over again. Yay! You are the champion, my friend. And you'll keep on building till the end. Alright, so now, being paranoid that my brain is making mistakes, I kind of second guess myself a whole lot when trying to do the slopes again. So I'm trying to think, how do we make this foolproof? Well, I'm not sure how necessary this was, but I thought to myself, okay, let us actually like complete the square, so to speak, so you can see where these slopes are going. So we're going to start with that, and yes, so it's just, if you want to make a nice curve between 2 points, it helps to work from both the points at once, if that makes sense. At least I find that's what works. So what are you doing? 1, 2, 3, and it's just, yep, there you go. And then just a whole smeg ton of these. Smeg is a kind of naughty word. Don't Google that if you don't know what it is. And yay, we have accomplished slopage. Sexy, sexy slopage. Which is why I firmly believe canoes are the sexiest form of boat. Which begs the question, what is the least sexy form of boat, or ship, or something? I guess probably an oil tanker or something, because it's, you know, slow and farty and square and smells funny. Yes, slope. Yes, slope. Yes, curve. Yes, slope. Yes, curve. Slay, slope, curve. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I quite possibly have not had enough caffeine to be qualified to be talking about anything right now. And yes, the slopes, they fit. The slopes, they fit, and it feels good. It feels good. And now we can carry on. So you've probably noticed that this thing is mostly just CRAM components at the moment, and later on when I create the ammo compartments, it's amazing. It's just like, if you're used to CRAM being the most ammo efficient form of weapon, a CRAM cannon this big, you kind of lose a bit of that efficiency because it's just so big. It's like, I think like 10,000 materials per minute it uses, so big shells, very, very big shells. Also have not even, it occurs to me I didn't even put any guidance systems in it, or anything. Which was silly, I guess. Which was quite silly, I suppose. AI compartment. So right here, not using heavy armor for the AI compartment because, well, it's on the other side of the CRAM cannon, and so the principle here, I'm not sure if there's a specific name for it, but it's like, alright, so you arrange your essential pieces so that the first thing, it doesn't sound very good, a phrase like this, but when the first thing that blows up, if the first thing gets blown up, it immediately renders moot if everything else is blown up. So in this particular case, the AI is behind all those CRAM components. So if the AI is actually getting damaged, assuming this thing is getting shot from underneath, what that means is that, like, alright, so the CRAM cannon's pretty much gone then, so we've already lost, basically. So AI dead is not how this thing is going to die, pretty much. That's the theory, anyway. Not sure how well it works. And righty-ho here, I'm trying to figure out the sexiest possible curves to create the lower, I guess, fighting... No, not fighting compartment, that's the wrong term. What's the term I'm looking for here? The armored bit for the gun, because the underside of this thing needs to be pretty sturdy, because this is a big thing, it's probably not going to be that fast. Damn it, I need propulsion for this. Don't worry, I just figured out where I can stick the propulsion. The propulsion must go in good places, as opposed to bad places. That is the most blindingly obvious thing I've ever said. So yeah, this is gonna be kind of a cone shape underneath here. And yes, there's the delicious potato wedges, or metal wedges as the case might be. I kind of checked out when placing these wedges. I'm not sure how well this is going to work. Suffice to say that if kinetics shoot up at us from underneath, because for those of you who don't know, slopes do reduce the amount of damage that kinetic weapons do. So that's APS shells, that's CRAM shells, that's anything that deals kinetic damage. So wedges are actually pretty good armor filler. So if you've got a gap and you've got nothing else to stick in it, stick wedges. Stick in delicious wedges, why not? Poles also work pretty well for that, because poles, because they're circular and they're technically sloped all around, well, not technically so much as actually, it means that it doesn't matter what angle they get shot at. So long as they get hit on the round side, they will uniformly reduce their damage of incoming kinetics, which is super handy. Which is something I've been reminded of a lot through playing the Finest Hour campaign. So, those of you who don't know, Finest Hour has basically the design of the ships and all that. They don't use shields or active defense or anything like that, so they have to rely pretty much entirely on armor. And they can't rely on speed either, because it's like World War II aesthetic, World War II kind of vibe to it. So you can't have 60 meter per second battleships, because that'd be a little bit ridiculous. So yeah, that's where was I going with this? Alright, so basically I'm being reminded of a whole bunch of armor tricks that I wasn't really using. And so now I'm using them. One of which is pole spam, because since armor stacking only goes up to 2 layers, if your armor is thicker than that, you might very well be better off, depending on what exactly you're trying to do, by just having a whole bunch of poles, be it metal or heavy armor, or alloy, as the case in a lot of Finest Hour craft, which does seem to help with buoyancy a fair amount, but alloy is... I've said this before, I'll say it again. Alloy and heavy armor is very much a thing of, like, it's easy to overestimate how good it is, and the split second you start using it outside of a very specific purpose, the quicker it's going to, you know, not be very helpful at all. And that alloy is not really good armor, because metal has more health and more armor, and is just generally better at taking a hit. And yeah, so that's kind of the thing with alloy, is just don't use alloy when you can use metal instead. And same with heavy armor, it's more effective at the less use of it, because you just, you know, you armor up your most important bits, and then yeah, you just do that. And yeah, that's like, I remember back in the ye olde days when I did subscriber craft reviews, and no, before anyone asked, no, not starting that up again. Like, don't ask. I still get the odd comment saying, like, hey, how do I submit this? And I'm like, you know what, to be fair, just, like, you know, how are people supposed to know? Like, it's not like it's in big, I don't know. Maybe I'm, like, you know, communicating with, people who've only just started watching your channel, I guess. That's hard. That's not easy. They don't know where to go first. Maybe I should... And no, I'm not going to make a channel feature video saying, the submissions are closed. That just comes across as unfriendly. What am I even saying anymore? So, anyway, back in those ye olde days of, goodness, those were ye olde days. This is like 2018, 2019 we're talking about. Yeah, so there was a lot of heavy armor spam in the ships, in a lot of the ships that I reviewed back then. And that's because people kind of, you know, have heavy armored thing use heavy armor, right? In practice, it's usually better to have the bulk of your craft's cost be in active defense, and most importantly, you know, firepower. Glass cannons tend to have an edge in front of the depths because, well, the best defense is to blow the thing that's, like, blow up the thing that's threatening you before it even gets a chance to do it. So, that's why lasers and advanced cannons are so generally good. And it's why, like, I use advanced cannons actually fairly often. Like, some people, you do get the odd comment saying, like, BorderWise, when are you going to use advanced cannons? And like, hello, have you been paying attention? I actually use them all the time. I use them all the time, I play with them all the time. Like, the days in which I didn't like them and, like, didn't use them are, like, long gone. Long gone. In no small part because they're way more balanced now. They're not quite as ridiculous as they once were. They're not completely unstoppable now. If nothing else, because high gauge APS can be zapped out of the air with lambs. Nah, I will never get tired of that pun. Yeah, the wedges, 1 meter wedges is probably not the best thing to use. Probably not the best thing to use, but you never know. Well, you do kind of know. Damn this humid weather. This is nap weather. Also, I did get up at 5 AM to, like, pre-render the footage you're seeing right now, so that I can watch it at full frame rate and comment on it appropriately. So, you know what? I can't blame it on the rain, or lack thereof. It's also my fault. It's also my fault, I say. Blame yourself, BorderWise. Blame yourself. 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 That's not a mantra that any person should, you know, chant to themselves ever. That does not seem mentally healthy. Just chanting, blame yourself, blame yourself, blame yourself. I think people do that enough already. Like, there are times to acknowledge when you are the one at fault, but then there's times to acknowledge that sometimes the universe just craps on you from a great height. And there's no point feeling, you know, bad, you know, there's no point beating yourself up about it. Because life is actually tremendously unfair. And I'm saying that because, in many ways, life has given me really unfair advantages. I have a family who looks out for me. Like, I don't know, among other things. So it's like, man, fairness really is just what we managed to accomplish. That was slightly too profound for a video in which I'm building an attack satellite with a big gun. So, yeah, attack satellite with a big gun. Let's talk about that more. I have no... This is one of those builds, and it's always fun building a new craft, so to speak, of a kind that you're not familiar with, because you have no idea what this thing will really be capable of. You have no idea. You have no idea, chum. Yeah, so engines. Let's talk about engines. I'm trying to wean myself off just spamming injector engines all the time. And so I've made some prefabs. They're not perfect prefabs. That is an injector engine. I kind of put that there and thought, you know what, nah, let us be more clever than that. So, this is a prefab I got called the Flat Phyllis. So it's based on another kind of engine that I've forgotten the name of. The Carpet, I believe it was called. And it's just very flat, and it's just, you know, it's pretty efficient. But it's also quite powerful, because you can extend it quite far. Probably could have even more engines. I've got room for improvement. And again, it's the same principle as, like, you know what, the thing will fall out of the sky once the engines are blown up, but if the engines are blown up, it means that the CRAM cannon's also been blown up. So, yeah, that's like, well, you know, it's like it all rides on the cram can, I guess. I'm not sold actually on that being a good design choice, but it's just, I guess it's more like shielding some parts with other parts, really. Also, this thing definitely should not have just the big cram cannon as the only armament, because there's plenty of things from the depths which do not have, well, you know, it's better not to use only cram cannons on them. It just doesn't make sense. Should really expand the ammo compartments even more and, like, I don't know, put big missiles on this or something. Or a laser. I have spare stuff. I can stick lasers on this. Lasers will be a good idea. And I've got room for a secondary... actually, that's a good idea, me. Stick lasers on your CRAM satellite. Why, thank you, me. I'm glad you acknowledged my genius. Careful now, me. Don't toot your own horn too hard for fear of deafening yourself. So, yeah. Again, the eagle-eyed viewers might note that there's a lot of, like, you know, this one cram cannon has a lot of, yep, so it requires 10,150 materials per minute, which means lots of ammo barrels, and it means that the ammo compartments need to be El Big. El Big, as they say, probably nowhere. El Big. Did I mention I flunked Spanish in high school? Or was it middle school? I don't remember. It was a while ago. But in any case, I didn't do very well. To be fair, it was not taught very well, but also, I was a very bad language student, because I didn't care. I was like, why do I need it in Spanish? It is because Spanish is a sexy language. And the señoritas, they would like you a lot more if you knew Spanish. I don't know what accent this is. I think, like, my Spanish accent might end up being too close to my French one. The French. The French, they talk like this, except not really. They do not talk like this at all. Boy, so, yeah, more delicious wedges, because at this point I thought, like, you can muck around with the poles and all that stuff, or you can just stick delicious wedges in there and call it a day. This thing definitely is, it's definitely interesting. I've never built something like this. It's certainly not even shaped like this, my goodness. It does look satellite-y. It does look like it comes from space. So yeah, that's, I guess, part 2 of this whole CRAM orbital satellite type thing. I'm enjoying this. I'm having fun with it. It might end up being a colossal failure, but you know what? Like I said before, failure is how you learn. Actually, that's not what I said. I just said that you will fail it from the depths a lot. And what I should have said earlier as well is failure is how you learn. So, on that jolly note, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Support me on Patreon or YouTube membership if you like. It really helps, and there's fun perks in it for you. Thank you to all my current supporters, and I will see you next time in From the Depths. Let's build. Farewell.